A Biden campaign spokesperson argues that there's really no reason to worry about Biden's mental fitness because should he get elected or reelected, even if his mental health declines further, he's got a brain trust that will run the country. And it consists of 3 people. That includes his wife, Jill Biden, Kamala Harris, and her husband. So the statement was made by Laura Brounstein during a private Zoom call. The group involved an organization called Jewish Women for Joe and other donors from the Jewish community. And the participants have been absolutely panicking about the likelihood of Biden losing the election to Donald Trump. Some explain that they're having trouble sleeping at night. They're in a full-blown panic about this. And so Brownstein's trying to calm them down. Remember, there are donors involved in the Zoom call as well. And so Brownstein began by painting a picture of Biden as a dynamic and fully engaged president, describing him as busy, in control and crushing it. Obviously, she says, the debate sucked, but he came back so quickly, and he showed himself to be the thoughtful, powerful, showed himself to be thoughtful and powerful again, vigorous leader he has been throughout his presidency. But then she conceded, mental decline, it continues to progress, and should he continue being president of the United States, and should it continue to progress to a point where he wouldn't even be able to function as president of the United States? You have nothing to worry about, okay? She says that the brain trust of the Biden presidency is who we want running the country before naming First Lady Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff as people that we want involved in our future. Do we? Do we want those? I mean, look, Kamala Harris is one thing. I don't know anything about her husband.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I didn't elect Jill Biden, okay? I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I didn't even vote for Joe Biden, to be honest with you. I wrote in Bernie Sanders, but did Democratic voters know that they were voting in his wife instead of Joe Biden himself? Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
When I first saw the headline, I was curious who they were going to say were his top 3 advisors. I was wondering if they were going to be honest that the First Lady was among them. And I foolishly assumed that it would be the First Lady and then 2 of his top advisors, maybe the White House Chief of Staff, maybe Ron Klain, Anita Dunn, something along those lines. Then I read it and I'm like, oh my God, Cenk, what? Like even I give them too much benefit of the doubt. No, of course, it was Rando Bob number 3, etc. Now look, Kamala Harris is not random. She's a vice president. There's nothing wrong with asking your vice president for advice, totally fine, right? And Doug Emhoff seems like he's probably the brightest one out of the bunch. And if he was the one making decisions, we might all be better off. But you're asking the second dude? Nobody elected the second dude, okay? But of course, there's only really one decision maker. He's not listening to Kamala Harris. There's a story out right before we got on air about how the Biden team is polling to see how Kamala Harris would do against Donald Trump. Partly because they want to use it against Kamala Harris if she polls worse than Biden. So they're not asking Kamala Harris. Oh my God,
Cenk, even I was naive enough to think they're planning for a plan B. No, you're so right. You're so right. That's why they're doing it. You're so right.
They're not asking the second dude. They're not asking anyone. No, there's only one person in charge. That's the First Lady. Joe Biden cannot speak at times. The Olivia Nuzzi piece in the Intelligencer said that he would freeze at donor events and Jill Biden would whisper into his ear and then he would repeat what she said. Jill Biden is definitely in charge. In fact, I'm curious what she thinks about the NATO summit because we should ask President Biden and her husband too, but overall, there is no question that Jill Biden is making the decision and she's the so-called brain trust.
I mean, we all know what her opinion of his debate performance was and how she spoke to him like a 2-year-old child on the debate stage. Let's take a look at that.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
And I want to go back to a video that we aired back in April. Back in April, when a huge portion of our audience was mad at us for raising alarm over how Biden was performing in the polling, how poorly he was doing in battleground states, critical swing states that he must win in order to win re-election. Jill Biden apparently took part in the disinformation that a lot of Democratic voters believed in, including this.
So it's not a part of you that's a little worried because you seem to be off kilter a little bit.
No, I feel that Joe will be reelected.
But when these polls, like the Wall Street Journal one, land in the White House and he's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up and he's even or doing better. So you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
All right.
Let me decode that for you. Once we effectively fearmonger enough to voters about Donald Trump, they will be willing to vote for Joe Biden, regardless of what condition he's in, regardless of how concerned they are about him, regardless of how often they're polled saying that they're concerned about his age. We're gonna ignore all of that and just hope that eventually the fearmongering will set in.
Yeah, so guys, the day after the debate, when it became clear that Jill Biden was making the decision to stay in, and literally every news outlet was reporting that, New York Times, NBC, Axios, Politico, etc. At that point, it became clear to me, and I said it to you guys on that day, I think that Jill Biden thinks, yeah, Joe is too old, but I'm not.
We didn't elect you.
Right, and so that's her ego, that's her gigantic ego saying, I can still run this thing. Whether Joe's in a wheelchair, he's incapacitated or not, whether he knows the difference between Zelensky and Putin, it doesn't matter, I'm in charge. But in the Washington world, saying anything against the First Lady is heresy. And if you say it like pre-debate, if you said anything about Jill Biden, they would have taken your head off. Rhetorically, politically, etc. How dare you? Let's see how uncivil these people are.
There was a whole news cycle about how people are wrong for not referring to her as Dr. Jill Biden. Like, who cares?
Yeah, she is a doctor. There's two types of doctors. The Republicans are idiots for focusing on that. But why are we all like, oh, how dare you say this about the First Lady? They're not Camelot, they're not royalty.
It's the most
They've got to be accountable, especially if you're running the country, right? And so last thing, guys, on this insider story, it's even worse than I thought because he's not consulting with Congress at all, we know that. Whenever he talks to them or the governors, he says, I'm staying in here, you're gonna shut up. That's not consultation, that's just yelling at them and bullying them, right? So he's stopped listening to them, he stopped listening to the donors for whatever it's worth, right? He stopped listening to everyone except his inner circle, we thought. But it turns out he's not even listening to his inner circle. He's not listening to his chief of staff. He's not listening to any of his top advisors. Now, outside of the top advisors, senior staff are leaking to the press, as we showed you earlier in the show, saying, guys, you're not getting it. We know internally he has a near 0% chance of winning. This thing's already over. And it turns out Biden's not listening to them, not to the inner core, he's only listening to his wife. And by the way, let's be honest, there's another guy, they said it one time in order to distract from Jill Biden and then regretted it and haven't said it since, Hunter Biden. So if you're listening to Hunter Biden and Jill Biden as president, don't tell me we can't talk about Jill Biden and Hunter Biden and how you're in such great shape, because don't worry, I've got the second dude, Jill Biden and Kamala, to talk to as my brain trust, please.
CBS News is reporting that 4 Democratic sources tell CBS that they expect dozens of Democratic lawmakers over the next 2 days to issue statements calling for Biden to step out of the race.
Yeah, by the way, so I said, first prediction was after the debate, gone. He's dropping out. There's no way he's going to make it. Okay, so I'm going to definitely be proven right about that. Number 2, I said this was really bold. I said it might be by this Monday, but it's going to be this week. Okay, so Monday passed. I was wrong about that. That was too aggressive. And I never mind admitting it, guys. That's why we do it in public. That's why we do it with you guys. So see, if I'm too aggressive, then I was too aggressive. It might still be this week. I might be right after all, even about the most aggressive of the predictions, because the Democrats are losing almost all of the swing areas. The donors have turned. And there is no brain trust. It's just the first lady. So this thing's already over. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.